welcome to the show. We are fortunate to have with us as our guest for this afternoon's show one of the brightest stars in Congress, an up-and-coming, young, brilliant political star of not just Davao, but of the country. And so we would like to thank Congressman Carlo Nograles, and welcome.
Thank you. Go. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You have a very impressive educational background, having graduated from management engineering, and then you proceeded to take up law.
Yes. Yes. I wasn't, when I took up management engineering, I really wasn't too keen on going into law. In fact, that was not my original plan. I thought after management engineering, I just work for a company. But it seemed that after working with a company, I thought there was some sort of calling to at least try law school. So when I tried law school, I enjoyed it.
Well, that was very evident because you, when you graduated and then proceeded to take the bar, you were among the top 20 of the successful bar examinees. In fact, you barely missed the number 10 slot.
Yes. I don't know if top 20 because they only count up to 10. But it was a very small margin to the number 10.
So certainly, that meant that you were up there.
I tried my best.
That was out of 5,000.
Yes, 5,000. 5,300 or something like that, yes.
And after that, as you said, the calling must have led you to the world of politics because I think you started working with...
Yes, after law, after taking the bar, after graduating from law school, I went immediately into practice in Davao. So I practiced for about 7 years before before running for office. At that time, simultaneous with appearing in court and litigating, I also served as my father's chief of staff in the district office. So then I'd also handle pro bono cases for those who had no means to pay for a lawyer. So I guess, you know, it's probably part of the calling or it ran it's in the blood, or at the very least I saw an opportunity to be of service to the public. So there were a lot of things that I felt that we could do in filling in the gaps in terms of education, in terms of providing assistance to the poor and the needy. And so while I was working as chief of staff, I was able to get a first-hand experience on the needs of the people.
Yes, you were talking about your father, and of course your father is none other than former Speaker of the House, Prospero Nograles.
Yes, ma'am.
You learned from the best.
Yeah, I watched him in action, so to speak. I was with him in every campaign, even when I was a young boy. Early on in his political career, I would remember that when he was not an elected official yet, he was active in human rights. We as young children growing up, we would experience our house being full of people asking for help. So at an early age, I was exposed already to the plight of the needy because I'd go down and talk to them also, even when I was young. And then during the campaigns, when he would go out campaigning, I'd be with him. I'd tag along. So I guess that was sort of an influence already on me, subtly. But my father never asked me to join politics. It did not come from him. In fact, I remember when I was about to graduate from college, I remember my father and I were hearing Mass together family. And then suddenly, during the course of the mass, we were outside because it was full. I whispered to him na, I said, I think I'm entering to public service.
Was that when you had the calling?
At that time, I wasn't decided entering law, but I knew that I wanted to do the work in public sector. So I guess that's when I decided to go into law school. Actually, when I mentioned that to him, that was almost the time when he filed his certificate of candidacy for mayor. But unfortunately, he lost that election. And then that lull, that 3-year gap when he was in the private sector, that's when I went to law school.
Preparing yourself for a life of public service?
Well, at least in law, it doesn't have to be public service. To me, you could come out of law school as a lawyer and you have many options. You can either go to private practice, you could work in government, or you could run for public office. So at that time, I was just preparing myself to become a lawyer because at the end of the day, you submit yourself to the electorate and it's up to the electorate if they're elected into office. So it's not really a sure thing that just because you are a son of a politician doesn't mean that people will accept you immediately. In fact, my father specifically told me that don't count on my help in this. You have to prove yourself first to the people, not to me. So it's like him saying that it's not a guarantee. You have to face 400,000 voters and convince them, at least the majority of them, to elect you to office.
So you worked hard at it. You had to convince 400,000 voters, and you won. So I think apparently you have just presented the best argument against anti-dynasty.
Well, yung anti-dynasty, there's a lot of, there are obviously a lot of pros and cons. The issue, I think, with anti-dynasty is more so about the same people or the same family name being elected over and over again. And the sub-issue there is to give other people a chance. But you can only see this in elected positions. You won't see this. What I mean to say is, you won't see this issue coming up in the legal profession, or the medical profession, or the business profession. Because in business, you will have, the same family running the same corporation in the same industry. Or in the medical profession, you will have doctors, families of doctors running the same clinic. Or in the legal profession, you will have a family of lawyers running the same law office. And there's no issue there. It's just, that's why it bewilders us. When it comes to elected positions, it's an issue.
So when you're free to choose on whether you will continue running a family corporation or go ahead and become a doctor because your father and your grandfather were doctors, or choose to become a teacher because everybody in the family are teachers, by your free choice, there is no issue.
Yes.
But when it becomes a choice of the voters, it becomes an issue.
That's why it's strange. That's why it's strange to us. So I think the argument of a lot of those in public office is that you leave it to the will of the electorate anyway. And so I think the real issue in this matter is really perhaps electoral reform, in a way that are we electing the officials that people really want. Because I think tied up in the issue of dynasty is the perception that there is cheating, that there is vote buying, and that is why some family names perpetuate themselves in the same office, is because there is that presumption that they go into these certain practices. So I think that really is the main issue, not dynastyism. Because some official, some of the electorate, some of the people, some of the voters would say that they're okay with this family name because they feel the services, they feel that they're doing their jobs. But some say that they're not okay with this family because of they've been able to perpetuate themselves in power because they resort to underhanded strategies. So I think, for me, it's not really dynastyism as an issue, but it's more electoral reform and changes in the electoral system to ensure that the people elect the public officials that they really want to see, that they really want to win or to be elected into office.
Well, Congressman Nograles, you became a neophyte congressman in 2010.
Yes.
And yet even as a neophyte congressman, you had already embarked on several projects, I believe, focusing on education and medical assistance.
Yes, that's correct. To me, even in my experience as a chief of staff to my father, I felt that, well, number one, our main objective really as public officials is to change the lives of our people for better. And to me, the only way for us to uplift the lives of the poor and needy is by investing in their education. To me, if we invest in the education of the students, the poor students, to ensure that first they finish grade school, second they finish high school, and third they pursue a course, even if it's just technical, vocational, or a college course, then that will give them a better chance to uplift their lives and uplift the lives of their families. Because it is ugali na yan ng mga Pilipino, lalo ng mga kabataan, our Filipino youth, that really when they dream, they don't dream for themselves. They really dream about uplifting the conditions of their family. So if we invest in the Filipino youth by giving them the means for them to uplift themselves by finding a decent job, finding a decent occupation, or going into their own small business, 100% they will work hard to uplift their situation and the situation of their families. In fact, I think the biggest Filipino dream really is for these young Filipinos to educate themselves and find a job so that they can support their young brothers and sisters in having their own education and following their footsteps and uplifting their lives. So I think by investing in this, in education, then we will better the chances of the survival of the Filipino families. Medicine, obviously, medical attention, medical assistance, we do that because day after day, as the chief of staff, you ma'am, when you were working in government, I'm sure every day you will be faced with people who have ailments or illnesses but have no means to pay for their medical needs. So that's just survival. That's really just survival. And to me, if we take care of the survival of the people by giving them their medical assistance and giving them their medical needs, and number two, if we invest in education, then that's the best way that we can really help them feel that government's working for them.
So it's really survival and then giving them hope for a better life.
Yes. It's, to me, dole-outs really don't work. Dole-outs, you just, it's too heavy a burden for government and it doesn't really change them or uplift them. What we should be concentrating on really is to help them become partners of growth and progress. Government can't do everything. You can't expect government to feed all 90 million, 100 million mouths.
Government doesn't have limitless resources.
Yes, right. We're very limited, and there are too many poor people for us to help. So what we need to do is find a way wherein they become our partners in growth. Mean to say, empower them to help themselves and their families. Because I believe all Filipinos naman, if you give them a chance, if you give them the capacity, the ability, the capability to help themselves and their families, they'll do it. Because we all want better lives for ourselves, for our family, except that the poor people, they have no means, they have no opportunities. So this is the gap. This is the gap that we need to fill. To provide them with the opportunities, to provide them with the ability, the capability to fend for themselves and support their family. And in a way, if they become productive, then they can also help government. Because if they become productive, then they'll be responsible taxpayers, hopefully. And by being responsible taxpayers, they will help in the coffers of government, and government will have more money and resources to help more people. That's the more productive side.
The will, the calling to serve continues to, no matter what obstacles may lie along the way.
Yes. I think we're elected into office in order for us to find solutions. So despite whatever happens, despite what's happening now, I think it's incumbent upon us to find the ways and the means for our people in our district.
Well, thank you very much for a most enlightening interview, Congressman Nograles.
Thank you, Congresswoman. It's been it's a pleasure, and I'm very humbled to be given this opportunity.
And I am given even more hope that with such bright, brilliant stars like you, the Philippines will be in good hands in the near future.
And the same with you as well.
Mutual Admiration Fans Club. Thank you very much.